Hello guys, welcome to my channel, Full on Drama. Today I have brought you 8 Am I the Asshole Reddit stories. Story 1. Am I the asshole for crying at my birthday party? I, 17 male, have a very financially well-off family. My mom and dad have very high-paying jobs at a really big company. My parents have always said that they want me to have a good life, and to them that means that they want me to have lots of money. My parents aren't very present in my life. They're always at work or out at a dinner party for their work, etc. I'm home alone pretty much all the time, or with my best friend Alex. Alex has a smaller house and really nice parents, so I hang out there a lot. Once I was at Alex's house for a whole week before my parents noticed I was gone. So, every year I ask my parents for the same thing for my birthday, to spend one afternoon together. But instead, I always get a text saying they have to stay at work late and I can go pick myself out a present. My 17th birthday was last week and I asked my mom and dad if we could go to an arcade and the movies to see a movie I really wanted to see. All the days leading up to my birthday, my parents said that was fine. They were going to meet me at the arcade at 5:30 when they got out of work. I was waiting in my car at the arcade until 7 o'clock waiting for them to get there. I drove home and waited in the living room for them to get home. They walked in the door at 8:45 and barely acknowledged me. They walked past the living room, into the kitchen and poured themselves glasses of wine. I followed them into the kitchen and looked at them, standing there and talking to each other. I cleared my throat and my parents looked at me. My dad mumbled an apology and said they had gotten caught up at work. He tossed me a small box with car keys inside. He told me I could have his old car, because he just bought a new one. He smiled and gave me a half hug. I said thanks and my mom asked if something was wrong. I told them that they left me hanging on my birthday again and my dad groaned and said to man up. He said that birthday parties are stupid, and I should be thankful that I got a nice car. I told him I'm super grateful for the car, but I just wanted to hang out with him and my mom. My mom said that she couldn't believe what an ungrateful boy she raised. Before I knew what was happening, I was crying. I told them that all I've ever wanted for my birthday is to have a normal day with them, but they never did that. I cried even more and went to my room. I told Alex about what happened and he was pissed. He said I'm so out of touch and bitch for crying when I got my own car. I explained that I wasn't upset about the car, but he said I'm an entitled asshole. I really want to know if I am being out of touch and annoying about this, so any feedback is appreciated. Sorry if this sounded stupid. Story 2. Am I the asshole for filing for a restraining order against my stepsister? I, female 20, and my husband, male 20, have had some issues with my stepsister, female 26, in the past with her stealing my property and selling it off to buy things for her baby. My stepsister is a spoilt brat and her mother and my father put up with it and coddle her. I have gotten yelled at numerous times by my father because of her. My stepsister has stolen from me before, but this time she has gone way too far. I was out at lunch with my 2 twin girls, while my husband was at work, when I got an alert on my phone from the Ring doorbell that someone has been in the front yard of my phone. I brushed it off as it could have been people walking past, but a couple minutes later I got another alert that someone has entered my home and I immediately went into panic mode. I called the police telling them someone has broken into my home. I knew it wasn't my husband or anyone I was close to because my husband was working until 9 p.m. and I would have been told they were gonna come over. I quickly rushed home with my kids and the front door was wide open. I stayed outside waiting for the police to arrive, and when they did, they went in and had my stepsister walk out screaming she needs her things. I told one officer that we have had a similar situation like this with her. They put her in handcuffs and told me to go down to the station whenever I could today to make a statement. I have talked to my husband and we are going to get a restraining order against her for the safety of our children, us, and to stop our things from getting stolen. So, am I the asshole? Edit info. I do apologize. I should have said this, but I got pregnant at 18 and my father didn't approve of it until we got married. So we got married after the twins were born 19 and my husband's parents helped us settle into a home a few months ago. We were living with his parents and paying rent, and my stepsister was able to get inside by a key we kept hidden. She knew where it was because she lived with us for a few weeks until we kicked her out for stealing, and Ray hiding the key, or not hiding it at all, has slipped our minds as I've been busy with the twins and my husband has been busy with work. I apologize for not making that clear. Story 3. Would I be the asshole if I tell my parents I don't want to live with my mom because of my stepdad? My female 17 parents have been divorced for 12 years. I've spent equal time at their houses since. 7 years ago, Mom started dating Gary, male 40-ish, fake name. Ever since they started dating, I've never liked him. We butt heads. He gets enjoyment out of making people angry, and Gary has taken his anger out on me. One time, he called me an asshole and blamed me for his and my mom's temporary breakup. I was 11. He blamed me because I first expressed discomfort about him to my mom. Ever since, I've felt fear of being myself or expressing anything but fake happiness around him. Since 2020, my mom and siblings moved into Gary's house and it's only made the tension worse. The times when I haven't taken his bait and not react to his inflammatory comments, he's called me a miserable asshole. But if I stand up to him or question him, he threatens me with kicking me out because I'm ungrateful. I hate living with him. I lock myself in my room to avoid him during weekends. I don't know how to act around him. My dad knows how I feel about Gary. Before we moved in with him, Dad and I made a deal to try get along with him. For the most part, I just smiled and nodded, only speaking when spoken to. I find it so hard to even try to get along with him when I know he likes to try make me upset. Anytime I've slipped up and spoken up, Dad's told me to keep trying to keep the peace. I've thought about being at my dad's more to avoid Gary. Here's the incident that's tipped me over the edge lately. For context, there's a rule at our house about food stealing. If it has someone else's name, you aren't allowed to eat it. A rule Gary made. I had a packet of chocolate in the fridge which he saw me write my name on it. One day, I go to have some chocolate and I saw there was less chocolate in the packet than when I left with. Gary grins at me and said that was some good chocolate remedials. I was stunned for a second. This is where I might be in a hole. I snapped, "You broke your own rule, Gary. My name was on the packet. What gives?" Gary snapped back, "Well, I never made that rule." My mom, who was in the vicinity, said, "Yes, you were the one who made the rule." Gary pulled out some snacks from the pantry. He basically said, "Well, I buy all this food for you. Should I label it too? If you can't share yourself, then you're so overdramatic, honestly." Then he left. I was flabbergasted. My sister later said he labeled all the snacks in the pantry and fridge with my siblings' names, but not mine. I don't care about him eating my chocolate. I care about how he can't apologize and plays immature games. I'm sick of constantly feeling like I'm playing a character too scared to speak out. I want to spend more time at my dad's house away from Gary because of stuff like this. Would I be the asshole if I admitted this? Edit to add, my dad has been friends with Gary for 15 plus years. Story 4. Am I the asshole for suggesting my sister speak to a therapist on her own and not supporting her enough during her rough patch with her oldest daughter? My sister has 2 living daughters. Joy is 15 and she's from her first marriage. When Joy was 8, my sister was pregnant with her second daughter when her husband and the girl's dad sadly passed away. A month later, my sister lost her second daughter during the pregnancy. The losses were hard for both, but Joy especially struggled to cope afterward. She had been so looking forward to her baby sister. Losing both her dad and sister in such close time, and then when my sister remarried 18 months later, it wasn't as easy for Joy as my sister wanted it to be. My sister's third daughter is Hannah, and Hannah was born when Joy was 10. Joy was never excited about Hannah during the pregnancy. My sister really made a big effort to involve Joy and to get her excited. At the time, Joy told her she would never be excited for a half-sibling the way she was for her real sister, and she told her she didn't want the new baby. She wanted her baby sister. My sister made a lot of effort to change Joy's thoughts on Hannah. When Hannah was a baby, she would hold her while she and Joy spent time together, and she would try to get Joy to cuddle up with her while she was holding a sleeping Hannah. But once Hannah was around, Joy was distant. She admitted she resented that Hannah was born and she lost her real sister. I suggested therapy for them back then, and my sister half listened and sent Joy to therapy. It has helped even if it wasn't how my sister wanted it to be. Joy is still disinterested in Hannah, but the resentment does appear to have faded or gone. She's not hostile anymore. She's just not making that sibling relationship her priority. A few weeks ago, my sister learned that Joy has been writing letters to the baby sister she lost. Looks like she started writing them while she attended therapy and she just never stopped. My sister decided to read some of these letters, and she was unhappy with the stuff Joy wrote. Things like how she is her only sister, she wishes she was here, she had been so excited not to be an only child anymore, and also telling her about stuff happening in her life. My sister hated how Joy ignored Hannah's existence as her sister. The two of them started fighting because my sister told Joy she has a living sister and she is just as important as the sister she lost. My sister came to me after Christmas, and by that point things were pretty rough between her and Joy. She told me she's disgusted by Joy's dismissal of Hannah and how she doesn't know what more she can do because Joy never outright bullies Hannah, but she refuses to try and love her. I suggested my sister could explore some therapy for herself since she never got any after everything that happened. I told her it might help her figure some things out. She told me therapy is a waste of time and money because look at what it did for Joy. She then accused me of trying to pawn her off on therapy instead of supporting her and said I'm her sister and should be doing more. So, am I the asshole? Story 5. Am I the asshole for wanting to set a limit for how many days my boyfriend's mom can stay with us? I, 26 female, recently moved into a 2-bedroom apartment with my boyfriend, 25 male, Austin. We lived together before, but now we have a guest room. I work from home, so my home is also my office. Austin is an only child, raised by his single mom, 54 female, Emery. He adores his mom to the end of the earth, and she can do no wrong in his eyes. She left him living alone for months when he was 16/17 because she moved in with a BF. And I think my BF wants to make up for lost time. Emery recently visited us for 16 days, arriving 3 days after we moved in. During her trip, I realized that 16 days was way past my comfort zone. I particularly struggled with this because Emery shows zero interest in getting to know me. This was my 3rd time meeting her, with it being just the 3 of us for the first time. I realized that she barely acknowledged me. All questions and comments were directed at Austin. Body language, eye contact, etc. She was very closed off toward me. We brought her to a friend's house for Christmas and she acted like a different person. She was very talkative, bubbly, and charming with all of the friends present, and she had met them all that day. Being her son's first girlfriend in 10 years, I thought she would want to get to know me, but all questions about me were asked behind my back. One of my gay male friends FaceTimed me and I overheard her ask Austin who I was on the phone with. I mentioned getting my antidepressants refilled and later she asked Austin, why does she take antidepressants? What trauma does she have? One of the first nights, she complained that she wasn't sitting next to Austin when I was sitting next to her. I felt self-conscious about my seat placement in my own home after that. I had a fight with Austin due to Emery having her friends fly in to stay with us and misinform us about the length of their stay. She overheard, so I apologized, and she did not speak a single word to me, in my own home, for 4 days. Austin and I discussed the burning question. Should there be a maximum duration for guests in our house? This would apply to all guests. I think 5 days is generous, and in our state, a guest legally becomes a tenant after staying for 7 nights in a row. I do not want to give someone else tenants' rights to my home. I said that if Emery wants to stay longer, she can get a hotel for the remaining days, but she cannot afford that and Austin does not want to pay for it. Austin said the one exception to this proposed rule would be Emery. I explained to him that's not an exception. It is obliterating the rule because she's the reason why I proposed it in the first place. He said this is a non-negotiable for him, and there is no maximum for how long his mom can stay with us. He said those 16 days were the happiest he's been in 10 years. Am I the asshole for wanting to set a limit on that? It's our home and I feel like we should compromise, but he will not budge. He is usually reasonable and understanding, but has tunnel vision when it comes to his mom. Story 6. Am I the asshole for not planning my mom's vacation for her? Brief background. Throughout my entire life, my family has never once been on a leisure vacation together. Every time we traveled was to visit family for a family event. All I remember during my childhood is my mom constantly bitching how she never gets to travel anywhere, but her and my dad could literally never plan a vacation. It would end in screaming matches because my mom would list off 100 places she didn't want to go but would never provide insight into where she actually wanted to travel. Anyway, we don't have to dive into that trauma today, but this is to paint a picture of what family traveling or planning has always been like. And no, they did not avoid leisure vacations due to finances. My parents have always been well off. My dad has always had hotel points, and I saw them throw away over 300,000 airfare points because they let them expire before choosing a trip. Scenario: I, 30 female, recently traveled to Arizona with my family, mom 66 female, dad 68 male, for my sister's 34 female wedding. The wedding was in Phoenix and then me, my boyfriend, my sister and brother-in-law made plans to stay in Sedona the following week. My mom said Sedona has always been her dream vacation and decided she wanted to go too. Unfortunately, her schedule only allowed us to drive up to Sedona for a day and enjoy it, but I was still happy to drive her and enjoy the experience together. We had 11 months to plan our vacations. I spent months and months researching and booking everything in advance for my week in Sedona. Excursions, tours, hikes, hotel, and every single dining reservation I made in advance. I kept telling my mom to book stuff ahead of time because Sedona can sometimes take 1 to 2 months of booking in advance during tourist season to eat at the popular restaurants. Throughout these 11 months, I even sent her all of my itinerary to help her decide what she wants to do. I'd constantly ask where she chose to eat, what we're doing that day, etc., but she never responded or put anything into action. 3 weeks before we left, she still hadn't planned anything. so I decided fuck it and stopped worrying about it. The day comes and we leave around 10 a.m. for Sedona. We get to Sedona around 12 p.m. My mom asks, so what are we doing? I'm hungry. Where are we eating? I looked at her and said, this is your vacation. I didn't plan or book anything. You decide what we do. She got furious and proceeded to yell at me. She ended up giving me the first panic attack I've had in over 5 years. She was angry for the remainder of the day. We walked half miles at Cathedral Rock and walked around the tourist trap stores. So, this has been bothering me as she continues to guilt trip me. Am I the asshole for not booking anything in advance for her day in Sedona? Story 7. Am I the asshole for not making sure my godson sleep during an overnight flight? My best friend Nick, 35 male, and I, 35 male, live in the same city. We decided to travel together to our other friend Toby, 35 male's wedding. All 3 of us went to school together. Nick's son Albert, 15, is my godson and he was also invited. Toby is another honorary uncle for him. Anyways, the day before we left, I bought Albert a copy of Death on the Nile to read at the airport and on the flight, figuring it will help him get some sleep if he read instead of playing on his phone. The day of the flight, Nick, who traveled extensively for work and had many miles and points, got an upgrade to first class. I stayed with Albert in economy. It was an overnight flight. I told him you should go to sleep in the next hour and dozed off soon after takeoff. Woke up an hour before landing to find that he hasn't gotten any sleep at all and has been reading the book I got him the entire time. Told me he couldn't put it down. When we landed, Nick was upset that I didn't make sure Albert got some sleep. He said it would have been nice of me to do so and even called me an irresponsible godfather for it. So, am I the asshole? Story 8. Am I the asshole as I didn't go home for Christmas break? I, 18 male, attend college 4 hours away from home. This is my first year as a college student, and during the first semester, I have come to the realization that it's either I've been too reliant on my mom and dad, or they've been overprotective of me. Before moving away for college, I relied on my parents for everything. I depended on them. I didn't know how to cook, clean, look after my money, or handle any situation I got into. I went to my parents to get me out of this. When I arrived for college, I didn't realize how tough it was to be alone. I always wanted my parents. I quickly realized I needed to grow up and be independent. I've now learned to look after my money, pay my bills, and stay organized. I'm in the process of learning how to cook, but I'm in the burning everything phase. Now I love it. I'm independent and responsible for everything. I live on campus and my college allows students to stay during breaks. 2 weeks before the Christmas break, I FaceTime my parents and let them know I'm not going home for the holidays. They laughed for so long. I explained I'm serious and I'm staying. Since then, I explained to them numerous times I'm not coming home for the holidays. This was my first Christmas away from my parents and I loved it. It's the first Christmas in ages that I enjoyed. My parents were pissed at me for not coming home for the holidays. They're still pissed off with me and they're treating me like shit because I didn't come home even though I warned them plenty of times. Was I the asshole for not coming home for the holidays? Thanks for watching. Comment your verdict. Please like, share, and subscribe.